Howdy, folks. I'm James Todd with Horsemen for Christ. I've got my great friend Charley Rickey here with me. Charley and I became really good friends over the last bit. We go to church together. Our families do a lot of stuff together. Our daughters are besties, and they spend quite a bit of time together. I've got Charley over here today with me. I wanted to talk about what he does. Charley is, I guess you'd be the administrator,
Executive director.
executive director of Grace House Ministries in Weatherford. You guys have another center also in Mineral Wells.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not going to try to explain too much about what Charley does because he's going to do a way better job than I will of telling you guys what he does. But I can tell you this, it's been something that I feel God has really laid on my heart to share with you guys and try to help Charley get the message of what he does out. We see today in society, abortion is rampant. There is very little regard for human life, especially preborn human life. And what we're hoping to do today with our podcast is just kind of share some facts and some information with you guys, and kind of help just make more people aware of what we're seeing and what Charley does. So I'm gonna let Charley kind of tell you guys what you do. Good to have you here today, brother.
Amen. I'm tickled to do it. Yeah. So Grace House has been around for 33 years. Founded in 1993. Initially, it was some ladies who had a concern to just make sure that there was a place that was offering alternatives to abortion in Weatherford. So that now exists as like 3 primary ministry programs. We've got our Options Clinic, Grace House Pregnancy Center, and then our in-school education program called Pure Truth. So generally speaking, if you want to put a name on what Grace House is, we are a pregnancy resource center and medical clinic. So Options Clinic would be the medical part. So we do pregnancy testing, ultrasounds, and limited STD testing for folks who've just found out that they're pregnant. And so as part of that service, as part of that conversation that we're having with them, we're finding out what factors in their life might be pushing them toward considering abortion. Our target audience would be women and their partners, their boyfriend or husband or whoever is involved in her life, the father of this baby, if she is indeed pregnant, and reaching out to those that are vulnerable to abortion, that are considering abortion, for whom that's on the table for them. Those are the ones we want to talk to most of all and encourage them to choose life for their child. So we find out what's going on in their life that might be pushing them in that direction, offer resources to kind of offset, whatever need it is that makes her think she needs an abortion. Like, well, what can we do to help you and to make parenting or adoption seem like a viable option for you? So we're encouraging a life-affirming decision in that situation, talking both with her and with him if he's a part of the conversation, if he comes to see us as well. And then for those that choose to parent, we have Grace House Pregnancy Center. That's one of those primary programs. We do pregnancy, parenting, and life skills classes from pregnancy through the child's second birthday. So they come to free classes, and that earns them points for diapers, car seats, playpens, strollers, all that kind of good stuff that babies need. So they're getting education, they're getting material support, and they have just a community of support around them with our staff and volunteers, with the other moms and dads that are part of the program. Some of them don't really have that. Some of them don't have family that they can go to who are supportive, certainly not maybe in a life-affirming way. And so all of that, again, everything that we do is free. We don't charge for any of our services, but they have agency in earning those things through their class participation. And we've had a number of clients express that, like, the dignity, the like self-respect that comes along with that this wasn't just a handout.
Someone mentioned that in the video that I saw at the gala the other night, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But one of the young families that was there, that's what they're talking about. They said they felt like they were treated with a lot of respect, and they felt really really good about the experience that they had there with you guys.
Yeah, well, love to hear that. I mean, we want it to be, again, something that conveys a lot of dignity, like that they feel valued, that it doesn't feel like they're just getting stuff that's cast off, or we want it, be a quality space, quality stuff that they're receiving, quality education, and just a lot lot of value that they're receiving from that. So those are we got Options Clinic, Grace House Pregnancy Center, and then I mentioned the Pure Truth. That's our program where we try to work ourselves out of a job at the clinic. So we get to go talk to middle school and high school students about choosing abstinence until they are in a marriage relationship. So we actually, I say that's the primary thrust of the program, but really just 3 of the 8 topics that we cover are about abstinence. So we go in one day and we teach a lesson. We cover a topic, and then we come back the next day and we come back 8 times. And so 3 of those lessons, we do a lesson on pregnancy, teen pregnancy, what that looks like. We cover parenting, we cover adoption, we talk about abortion and why parenting and adoption are better options. But even more better, how about we don't get pregnant as a teenager,
Right.
because here are the consequences. Here's how that's going to make your life more challenging. So let's make some choices.
The most effective form of contraception is abstinence.
Absolutely. It's the only one that's 100% effective. It's only failed once. So
Right.
shy of an immaculate conception, you're in good shape. So we lesson on pregnancy, lesson on STDs, some of the other dangers that are out there if you are sexually promiscuous, and then we cover stages of attachment in relationships, how there should be a process of getting to know somebody, coming to trust them, and how there should be a commitment before physical intimacy, and talking with them through those stages. So those 3 lessons, very explicitly abstinence education, but we cover 5 more topics. So and they're all about healthy decision making. And so we call it an abstinence education course. It definitely is, but more broadly, it's a healthy decision making course. So we actually start with a lesson on personalities, which kind of might seem strange, but they take a personality test. Everybody else in the room does, and we talk about like how they're unique, how they're different, kind of laying groundwork for like defense against peer pressure. Like just because everybody's doing something, just because everybody else thinks or acts a certain way, like you are a different person and you can make different choices. So we start with personalities, and then let's see if I can list the other 5. Sometimes I get myself in a bad spot. I didn't refresh my memory. So there's so we do a lesson on social media, talking about we call it social media, but just wise, kind, safe online activity, and some of the threats that are out there, some of the cyberbullying and some other issues. We actually do an entire lesson separate from that one on human trafficking, and how there are traps online specifically. We think of the guy that snatches you up in the Walmart parking lot or something like that, and that does happen. You want to be vigilant. You want to encourage young people to be vigilant, but really online activity is where you're really in danger there. So social media, human trafficking. I got 2 more. Let's see if I can remember those. Emotional needs. It's a healthy coping skills lesson. It's how to deal with just low-level anxiety and depression, not like the diagnosable kind, but just the kind that we all experience. How do you respond to your emotions in a way that's healthy, as opposed to unhealthy, and how really we're gonna have problems. We're gonna have negative emotions, and it's not that it's wrong to have those. We're all going to have them. But how do you respond to those things? And then risky behaviors and setting boundaries. I got all 5. Yay. So risky behaviors, not so much sexually risky behaviors, although we touch on that a little bit, but it's more like we talk about vaping, it's drug and alcohol prevention, and just other, and how to set boundaries with another person, how to be really clear about this is what I want to do, this is what I don't want to do. And
what would be the age range of the people probably that you're talking to about these things?
About the youngest that will go is 7th grade. Our target is 8th grade, and we'll kind of go wherever the school will let us in terms of like middle to upper middle school and into high school. Some schools will cover both middle school and high. 8th grade is kind of prime target because they're just old enough. And it's not to say that 8th graders are mature, but they're certainly a lot more mature than a 7th grader.
Right.
They're a little more down for like, let's have a grown-up conversation. And if you wait till 9th grade, like there are some behaviors that may have already been kickstarted.
Right.
Some of them may, not to say that that's not unfortunately even the case for some 8th graders, but it's much more likely that you are getting in ahead of some of those behaviors that we're trying to curb, trying to encourage them to make different choices. So
one thing I love that you guys do, everything you do is Christ-centered. It's all centered around the gospel.
Yeah.
And everything that you guys promote is biblical. which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. With Pure Truth, since we're mostly in public schools, we do get in some private Christian schools, and then we can be really explicit about some of the, the biblical basis for why it's important to choose abstinence or to make some of these other choices that we're encouraging in public schools. We can't necessarily come right out and say, do it this way because this is the way the Lord designed you. Although, depending on what questions the students ask, if they open the door, then we're able to share a little more explicitly about that. But it's even in the public schools. I mean, that's what's undergirding all this stuff. And fortunately, at the clinic and at the pregnancy center, we have no reservations about sharing the gospel. We had, even 2025, we had the opportunity to lead 25 people into a relationship with Jesus Christ. 25 people made a new profession of faith. Yes, love that. We want to offer hope for their pregnancy. I mean, that is, primarily, practically speaking, that is what we are there to do. But we want to offer them eternal hope in Christ. We want to introduce them to Jesus, get them connected to a local church. Best case scenario, we'll see them early in their pregnancy. Maybe they're 4, 5, 6 weeks along, and then they'll stick with us maybe for the first 2 years of their baby's life. So 2.5 years maybe that we get the opportunity to influence and encourage them. But if we can introduce them to Jesus, obviously that's an eternal relationship. But even his church, that's a lifelong relationship of encouragement and support. And obviously those of us who are part of a local church family, the measure of building up that we experience when we're regularly a part of a church family. We want them to have that too, while they're with us, but then also there's going to come a point where our relationship with this person ends, and we're going to do the best we can to help them in that span of time and get them into a place where they're helping themselves. But man, they need a relationship with Jesus, and they need a connection to a local church. So we're going to facilitate that if we can at all.
Amen. So one of the things that I've experienced recently is you guys had your gala. They had a speaker come.
Dr. William Lyle.
Mm-hmm. And this fella, he really laid out a lot of things. Obviously, I grew up on a ranch. We raise cattle, we raise horses. I have a child, so I understand how reproduction works. But there were things that just were explained to me about a baby, an unborn baby, that I did not know. And man, it was a real eye-opener for me. So at the gala that night, this fella spoke, and man, it was just good. That's all I can say is it was just good.
Yeah.
One of his slogans, and I'm sure I'll say it wrong, but he made a comment, he would say it over and over, and it was something to the effect of patience. All patients are people, no matter how small.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe that's not exactly the way he worded it, but that was the gist of it. And he would say, all patients are people, no matter how small.
Yeah.
And what this guy did was he showed us, because in the world, so you guys that have watched me preach on Facebook, you've heard me often talk about that the enemy, the devil, Satan, he attacks the family. Mm-hmm. That's one of his main plays. Mm-hmm. He attacks the family. Yeah. He wants to keep men from being godly fathers, mm-hmm. husbands. He wants to drive a wedge between mom and dad. He wants children to grow up to be outlaws, and the way that he accomplishes his goal, which honestly is to have as many people join him separated from God for eternity in hell. That's his goal. He wants to take as many people with him as he can. And one of his main tactics is to destroy the family. Yeah. One thing that we've seen in my lifetime that has become a big way that he does that is he's going after children before they're born.
Yeah.
And, in society, we hear people say, well, that's a clump of cells. It's not a child. Having a medical doctor, a trained medical doctor who has more training and more life experience in doing surgery on unborn babies, delivered, I don't know how many babies that fella's delivered in his life. I think he said it's a staggering number. doing brain surgery on a baby in the womb, doing heart surgery on a baby in the womb. It's just amazing to hear this fellow's stories and what he did. But anyway, so attending that night, it was just a real eye opener for me, and it also kind of I've always believed in the sanctity of life. I believe that from the moment of conception, a person has a soul. They're a person, and that's a person that should have the same rights as you and I do. But we've reached this place in society now where, taking the life of a preborn person has become a political thing. It's billed now by some people as women's health. And I guess the thing that really spoke to me that this doctor was saying, from the moment of conception even, but like these babies in the womb, they can feel. They are just preborn people.
Yeah.
And somebody has to stand up for them.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys do. So I'm sure you guys have young ladies come in. They're afraid maybe they're pregnant. They're 17 years old, 18, 19, I don't even know. And they're afraid. They don't know what to do. I'm sure some of them are exploring the avenues of having an abortion. Some of them don't want to have an abortion, but they don't know what to do. Maybe, we could talk about hypotheticals all day, but I'm sure some of them have a boyfriend. Some of them don't. Some of them, it was just a fleeting thing that happened, and now they're pregnant and they don't know what to do, and they're terrified. And you guys help them. And then also there was young families, like a young man and woman that are married and they're ready to start a family, and they're just really not sure how you do all that. As far as the test that you need and the things that you do when you're a young couple who's pregnant now, who's moving forward towards starting a family and having children. There was testimonies of people at the gala. There were some videos of people who had come and used you guys' services, and it was just a glowing testament to what you guys do and how needed what you do is in the community, and how important it is to have people doing what you guys do. So I'm going to kind of hand it back over to you, but tell us a little bit about some of the things that we learned that night at the gala, as far as what the doctor was telling us about.
Yeah, he told, I think some of those procedures he'd maybe been a part of himself, and others he just was familiar with and was explaining to us laymen. And so, just crazy things. One of them that stood out to me that I don't think that I had heard about before. I'd seen him speak before, but he talked about how sometimes twins will share a placenta. And so
Right.
You'll end up, most of us may have seen, or, we all know somebody's had twins. Sometimes one, especially at birth, one will be quite a bit larger than the other. Clearly they were getting disparate amounts of nutrition
Right.
through the placenta, and that may even affect them their whole life long. And so sometimes that can actually be fatal to the baby in utero. Sometimes they're not getting enough nutrition to really thrive and do
And when
well.
they're sharing a placenta, if one of them dies, then they're both going to die.
Yeah, it's a pretty
Likely.
pretty tenuous situation. Yeah, and so they've gotten to where they can get in. I believe they use a laser to divide the placenta, and are able to do that in such a way that it adjusts itself and it begins to give more equal amounts of nutrition to both babies. Just really cool stuff. He showed there's an image a lot of us have probably seen if you've been a pro-life person for very long. There's a image of a surgery that was done in the womb back, I think, in the late 90s, and you can see in the image, you can see the uterus and there's a hole in it. They've opened the uterus to be able to work on this baby, and the baby's hand sticking out, and it's gripping the finger of the doctor.
Man, I'm not gonna lie, that one made my eyes sweat a little bit.
Yeah.
When I saw that.
Yeah.
That image of that tiny baby in its mother's womb, and they had made an incision to go in and do surgery on this child and the things they were doing there, and to see that little bitty tiny hand, and it was so tiny, but it reach up out of there, man, that did something to me to see that.
Well, it was cool. He has his picture made with that child, that boy, and I think in the first picture, the boy's like 8, 9 years old maybe, and then he's got other pictures of him at like in the teen years, and I think another one, I believe he's in his 20s now, because if that was the late 90s, it's 2026. James, time is kind of moving on.
I know, like that. It doesn't seem like it's been that long since the 90s, but it's been a while.
But it was the point, like you were never an embryo, and now you're a person. That embryo was you. Like the person that you were when you were a fetus, that you're still that person. Like it's not that you are that and then later you become a human. That was you the whole time.
That was you the whole
time. And that was him the whole time.
And the child and the mother have different blood types often. I mean, I'm not even sure how that works, but he was explaining that.
Right. Yeah.
That they can, likely have different blood types.
Yeah. And sometimes that can cause problems. And so,
their DNA is not the same, even though the child does share the DNA of the mother. Mm-hmm. But that is a unique individual.
Yeah.
Just as unique as you and I are at 50 years old and 40 years old. That baby in the womb is just as unique individual as we are.
Yeah. It's there's so many things that anytime we look at the life in the womb and that their personhood, and there's so many different things we can look at that illustrate the fact that is a person. That person has value and has merit. But the angle that he took it, of like talking about, okay, well, this is a patient. If it's a patient, it has to be a person. And if it's a person, we can't destroy that person's life. The patients have rights.
We have to help them.
Talked about patients have rights, and if they're clearly a patient. One of the neat things is whenever a mom goes in for surgery on her baby who's still in the womb.
Yes.
How many anesthesiologists are there in the room?
There's 2.
There's 2
because there's 2 people.
And there's 2 patients.
There's 2 patients.
So right. If you're if folks are interested, prolifedoc.org, prolifedoc for doc.org is Dr. Lyle's website. I think you can probably find at least some short clips of him sharing, and he actually has some curriculum that I think is freely available on his website. So there's what you kind of find when you talk to people, and unfortunately it's true of us on the pro-life side, but it's certainly true you'll find sometimes for people who are maybe a little more in favor of abortion, is they don't know much about what it is that they believe. They're not well-read and well-researched. And so equipping ourselves as pro-life people to kind of know, like, okay, here are some reasons, like, more than just a vague sense of, well, that's a baby, and so we got to protect it. But like, having some information about fetal development. If you have an opportunity to speak to someone who's a believer, having biblical grounding for why you're pro-life, like just equipping yourself a little bit, and then being ready when the opportunity arises to share some of those things, that can have a profound impact, because you may be talking to somebody and think, oh, well, they're pro-choice, or they're pro-abortion, or however you want to frame that, and like, oh man, I don't want to get into an argument. And typically we don't argue people into changing their minds, but a gentle, friendly conversation.
The truth still needs to be said, though.
Absolutely.
If you have opportunity to share the truth with someone,
absolutely, especially
someone who doesn't believe the truth or doesn't know the truth, then that's something that I spend a lot of time thinking about this and dealing with this and trying to talk to people and witness to people. As you said, like, standing out on the street corner yelling at people and telling them you're going to hell and you need Jesus is probably not the most effective. It could be the truth. Yeah. But that's probably not the most effective. But what we really need to do as believers is we need to be well-versed and well-studied and understand what we're talking about, because a lot of people, when met with logic and reason, the way their brains work, they think to themselves, well, that guy just said something that I can't refute that. Mm-hmm. What he said must be based on something. And that's one of the things the pastor you and I have been listening to a lot, Josh Howerton, he was talking about this the other day on one of the podcasts I was watching of his. But he said, like, when you're trying to move someone toward salvation, He said, and Brother Ronnie Hill, our staff evangelist at Greenwood Baptist Church, I've heard him speak of the same thing. But how many times was it they said that somebody likely would have to hear the gospel?
It's an average of 7.
7. Yeah. I've heard some people say even as many as 10. Yeah. But it's somewhere in there that many times. So one of the things that Pastor Josh was talking about was, he said, like, when I'm on a plane and I'm sitting there beside somebody that I don't know, I don't come at them like, hey, man, do you know the Lord? We just casually have a conversation, and then eventually it gets brought up, well, what do you do? Well, I'm a pastor. And he said, then some people kind of get real quiet, and some people are interested in what I do. But he said, my goal is if the conversation that I have with them, if they're at a -10, and the conversation that I have with them moves them to a -9, that's one step closer to salvation and knowing Jesus Christ. So that's the thing that I was really thinking about with this, is when you talk to people who are pro-abortion, you're probably not going to sit down with them in a 5-minute conversation, change their mind. But if they're at a -10, maybe you can move them to a -9 by having realistic facts, sharing with people with the love of Christ, because like the old ways of just pounding it in somebody's head is not really effective, and people these days are so opinionated, and so some people are just really opinionated, and even though they're very wrong in what they believe, they're positive that they're right. And they've been taught that, and they've been indoctrinated that from the time in public school. All the things that they've been taught over their life, or many of the things they've been taught over their life, is not things of God. Yeah. But they've been taught that this is true and it's right. So just like with salvation, as we're talking about, with promoting the cause of pro-life and the sanctity of life, maybe as believers, if we know more and we've educated ourselves better and we can speak more fluently with people about these topics, then we have a chance to help move somebody from a -10 to a -9. Yeah. Maybe they're already at a 4, and we can help bump them from a -4 to a -2. Or maybe they're just right there on the doorstep of, they're having those thoughts of, wow, maybe children that are not born yet actually are people. Maybe they're not just a clump of cells. Maybe they do actually feel pain when someone rips them apart in their mother's womb and tears them out of her body. Maybe that is a child of God, that God intended to be there for whatever reason, that was just murdered. So that's the thing that really spoke to me that night at the gala. So that night at the gala, there was a lot of medical information that made things even more clear to me. The spark of life, at conception, the energy, the spark that happens when that egg is fertilized by one sperm. And there was things, that even having biology in school and whatnot, there's things that I didn't know. So one of the things that he talked about was, once that egg is fertilized by one sperm, immediately when that one sperm fertilizes that egg, when they had this, I'm not exactly sure what it was, but it was some sort of imaging of this happening, and you could see this flash. And it was definitely, you could tell for sure something real just happened. Yeah. But after that, the egg actually like puts up a shield or a wall or a barrier, so no other sperm can enter the egg. And it was just really amazing to see that, because I didn't really know how that worked. I mean, I knew that an egg was fertilized by a single sperm, but I've never actually seen like imaging of that happening, like they presented in that video that he showed us. And it was very obvious to me at that point, as I watched that, I was like, that's where that life began. Yeah. It was right there in that instant. it wasn't when it had a heartbeat, or it wasn't when it was old enough to sustain itself outside of the womb. That life began right there, right then. When that egg and that sperm became one, that's where that person started.
Yeah.
So it was pretty amazing to me to watch that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all of the information necessary for you to be who you are. And so much of who we are is in our biology. It's in our DNA. Like what you inherited from mom and dad, your hair color, eye color, how tall you were likely to be, assuming you got enough nutrition, all, bone density, all those sorts of things. Like, well, you got Uncle Joe's sense of humor and Aunt Marcy's hairline, all of that stuff right there at the moment of conception. All of that was present from your mom, from your dad, all that you inherited, all that you are as a human being, at least in what you inherited from them. Obviously, there's nurture, there's what we learn and grow into and how we're raised, but all of that other stuff, which is a really powerful component of who you are, bam, it was all there at the moment of conception. And to see that illustrated in that imaging and watching that event of conception, and that flash, that spark of life, that very literal spark of life, that's a pretty powerful thing. And it's, when we talk about maybe having conversations like this, people get intimidated. It's like, well, if somebody asks me something that I don't know. And it's not like you have to come into this with all the information in the world. You got to know every single fact. Like just a baseline understanding and a willingness to have conversations, to ask good questions, to see where other people are. And especially if it's conversation with people to say, you know what? I'm not sure about that. Let me look that up and get back to you. I'd love to find an answer to your question. But there's just some really low-hanging fruit in that department of pro-life apologetics, of just coming in with a baseline understanding and knowledge of a little bit of prenatal development, and maybe some of the most common pro-abortion arguments. We might have to have a whole conversation just about pro-life apologetics. I don't want to get too far into it, but they call them SLED arguments. Size, level of development, environment, degree of dependence. So SLED, S-L-E-D, SLED arguments are almost, the biggest chunk of the arguments that you hear in favor of abortion. And when you understand that and how any of those attributes of a person, and using any of those attributes to define whether someone is a person or not, are all characteristics that born people possess in varying degrees. And so just understanding that and being able to spot, that's a SLED argument. Like you and I possess those qualities in varying degrees. Does that mean, I'm taller than you, James, so am I more people-y than James because he's, let's see, James older than me, so he's more developed than me, so is he more people-y, more person-y than I?
Right.
It's, those things start to break down.
What exactly defines a person,
Right.
Where do you say this person's worthy of living and this one's not? Mm-hmm. That was one of the things that's, I don't know, it's always jumped out at me is the pro-abortion idea. I've heard many times when, I know even like some videos that I saw when on a college campus when Charlie Kirk would be speaking with someone and he would be talking to them and they would be, saying why they believed in abortion. And he would ask them, well, when do you feel like that child actually is a person? Mm-hmm. And they're like, when they can take care of themselves. And he was like, okay, so you think like 9 or 10 years old, or because they use that argument, but I'm like, I know when my daughter was born, like when she was 2, if we took her out in the middle of a ranch somewhere and left her, she wouldn't have survived on her own. Yeah. And she had been living outside of her mother's womb for 2 years. Mm-hmm. There comes a point in our life as we get older. There's somebody out there that's 89 years old today, and without someone taking care of them, they won't survive. Mm-hmm. So that's just always seemed like a really weak argument to me, that viability. Yeah. Because there's no way to even really measure that. Mm-hmm. But I do want to share a story. So some good friends of Heather's and I back home, you've heard me tell this story. Some of the people that'll see this have heard me talk about it, even when I've been doing Facebook church or at some of the horse shows that I preach at. But some good friends of ours back home, the Jennings family, Matt and Kelly Jennings, their daughter Avery, she and her husband, they wanted to have children. She was pregnant. They were so happy, and she started going into premature labor. And I'm wanting to think, I wish Heather was sitting here beside me so she could tell me, because she knows the exact time frame. But it was about 20 weeks. So Avery was about 20 weeks pregnant, and she started going into premature labor. They life flighted her to Vanderbilt Hospital in Nashville, Tennessee, which all that family lives in West Kentucky, where I'm from. And as far as in that part of the country, that is the best hospital. If you're hurt bad and you're in a car wreck, or you're a lady that's pregnant and you're having issues, Vanderbilt, they have the best trauma center. They have the best NICU and all those things in that part of the country. So they life flighted her to Nashville, Tennessee, to Vanderbilt Hospital, and they told her some very shocking news. When she got there, they told her that if she went into labor before, I'm wanting to think it was 22 weeks, but they told her that if she went into labor before that point, that they could not and would not do anything to stop it. If she gave birth to her son at that point, that they would not attempt to help him, that they couldn't and they wouldn't attempt to do anything for him. They literally told this poor girl that if she gave birth to her son at 20 weeks or before 22 weeks, that she could hold him until he died. That was all they had to offer. And man, like that did something to me, because I'm like, you could at least try. And I understand that medically, like, it's not likely a child born at 20 weeks survives, but what have you got to lose is my thoughts, I mean, maybe this one is the one that does survive at 20 weeks, but that's what they told her. And I don't understand why that's their rules. I don't understand where that comes from, but that's what they told her. And a lot of people prayed for her. Her mom and dad were there. They actually, I think they rented a condo down the road, and they just stayed there. One of them was with her all the time. Her husband, Jesse, he was with her. Other parts of the family would come and stay, and people prayed over her and prayed over her, and praise God, she made it past that threshold of whatever that time was, which I believe was 22 weeks, that they told her that she had to cross that timeline before they could help him. So he was born after that mark, very premature, had a very small chance of survival even then. But praise God, he's 2 or 3 years old now, and he's a happy, healthy little boy.
Love it.
And he's a miracle. I mean, he's a miracle from God. And man, I get choked up talking about it, because I know that was just the will of God, and that was God's protective hand on him and his mother, and that's why he's here today.
Yeah.
So, but that was one of the things that the doctor talked about at your gala. I think the youngest surviving premature baby was 21 weeks, maybe.
I believe that's what he shared somewhere in Iowa. That he was
somewhere
born.
in Iowa, yeah. So that is awful early, but it's still possible.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just something I wanted to share, that just really has been an inspiration to me. That little boy Atlas, he was born, and they had to take him to the doctor a bunch of times after he was born, which he stayed in the NICU for a long time there in Vanderbilt. But once they released him and let him go home, they still had to take him back several times for different checkups and tests and things, because he was born so premature. But to the best of my knowledge, he never had to have any surgeries. Man. And he's just a happy, healthy little boy that's just like every other happy, healthy little boy at this point in his life. So that was definitely a big praise there, that God just stepped in and said, hey, this one's going to make it. So
Man,
that was big time. That was big time for me.
that's incredible. Yeah, love that. I mean, and medical, science, praise God, common grace of God that we have that, and it's making advancements. Like, they're not. I'm not sure that 21 weeker how long ago that was, but that's the thing, especially about using viability as the point at like, okay, now it's a person. It's like, well, viability where? Like where you are in the world begins to matter. So is it that a child in a third world country doesn't have value, isn't a person until 32 weeks, because in their country they won't survive outside the womb until then, whereas our babies here have value at 21, 22, 23, 24 weeks, when viability is here in the US, depending on how close you are to a really good NICU. You start to butt up against some things that's going to be real hard pill to swallow if that's your definition of when someone becomes a person and when is worth fighting for. So it's it's like all of these arguments in favor of abortion. If you push on them just a little bit, man, they kind of crumble. So check out prolifedoc.org, and there's lots of other great resources out there. Yeah, to get yourself equipped. I mean, obviously we know, like you were sharing earlier, we have to be prepared to give a defense for the hope that is in us. But man, I think we can apply that same principle toward the reason that we are pro-life, and take those opportunities, family, friends, at the water cooler, over coffee, wherever, to just to gently share why you believe life has value in the womb, from the womb to the tomb, and Lord can use it and have a real impact.
Amen. So, Charlie, I want you to just take a second and give everybody, how do they find you? Because I believe this is a very, very important cause. I think this is something that needs more support. The information that you guys share with people is super important. The services that you guys offer is super important. And the fact that sometimes people come in thinking about having an abortion, and you guys are actually able to minister to them and witness to them, and they choose life for their child. And also, you guys have led people to the Lord in the midst of doing all that. So this is a very, very worthy cause. So Charlie, tell everyone, if they want to check you guys out, if they want to help support what you guys do, tell us how we can find that.
Yeah. I mean, if you're local to the, west of Fort Worth area, come visit us. We'd love for you to give us a call. And you can find us online pretty easy, Grace House Ministries. So our website is GHM for Grace House Ministries, TX for Texas.com, GHMTX.com. Or you can just Google us, you can find us on there pretty easy. Give us a call, reach out. We'd love to have you come for a tour. It helps to see in person, I feel like, how the services are laid out, in the same way that the gala had an impact. Hearing from Dr. Lyle, coming and seeing things in person, we'd love to have you visit. Or if you're from somewhere else in the country, there's lots of places like Grace House. I'm pretty fond of this one. We'd love to have you support and be involved with Grace House. But if you're from elsewhere in the country, you've probably got a pregnancy center pretty close to you. There's several thousand of us across the U.S. So there's an option line. You can Google option line, and you'll find them pretty easy. They actually have a Find My Center feature on their website, and you can stick your zip code in there, and it'll show you where the nearest pro-life pregnancy resource center and medical clinic are. And I'd encourage you, if you're from elsewhere, from further off, find the center that's closest to you, reach out to them, contact them, say, hey, I heard about what pregnancy centers do, and this sounds awesome, and I want to, how can I support this? People are involved in all kinds of ways. Folks volunteer. Obviously, we have folks on staff, employees. People serve on our board of directors, and man, they serve in all kinds of capacities too. We've got folks that go in the schools and do the abstinence education. People that sit down with moms and dads who are making pregnancy decisions, and we got people that just like want to sort donations or do like clerical work or come in sometime and stuff envelopes. So people serve in all kinds of capacities. Obviously, financial donations are just a big deal for us. We are primarily supported by individuals, families, and churches in our community that give to make the ministry possible. So there's all kinds of different ways you can be involved. And honestly, and I don't say this just as a platitude, prayer support is like the biggest deal. This is,
Amen.
a spiritual battle. The enemy comes to steal, to kill, and destroy.
Amen.
He wanted to thwart the Lord and take his throne. He couldn't. And so he hates human beings created in his image. Each human being reflects the image of God. Satan's opposed to the image of God, and he wants to destroy him. We're standing in the way of that. So that puts us in the crosshairs of the enemy. And so we need prayer support. So if you want to pray, we would encourage you to pray educated. We send out newsletters, we put out emails, there's stuff on our social media so you know what's going on to pray. Or if you want to really be in the thick of it, we send out a text just once a week, like, hey, here's something that's going on at the center. We'd really appreciate you praying for us about this. And so you can actually just text our admin office line. It's 817-599-9080, and just say prayer. That's all you have to text us, 817-599-9080, just the word prayer, and that'll automatically sign you up to get a text once a week. It's usually Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll send you something out, let you know what's going on at the center, what you can be praying for.
That's awesome. That's one thing that you said there. I talk about the power of prayer constantly. I've just seen it over and over and over in my life. I've seen people pray and God answer prayers. And one of the things that really also spoke to my heart at the gala the other night was the rocks. So many of the folks that come into the center, they had these smooth, flat stones, and they simply wrote with a Sharpie or a marker on the stone, asking, it didn't say who they were, didn't say their name. They just wrote something that they were asking for people to pray for them over. And all of the folks there, myself and my family included, when the event was over, they told us to come up to the stage, pick up one of the rocks, and take it home and pray for that person. And man, let me tell you, I actually picked up a couple of them, and I have them in my room every morning and every night. I pray. I don't know these people. I don't know who they are. I don't know their name. But I know that they ask for a specific prayer. And every day I lift those folks up to the Lord in prayer. And I believe He knows them.
Oh, yeah.
He knows exactly what they need. And the fact that we're doing that, that's what we're supposed to do as believers. Yeah. And I just can't stress enough how important the power of prayer is. Just as you said, obviously it takes money to do what you guys do. So financial support is a big deal. Mm-hmm. But financial support without spiritual support is pointless.
Right.
So that is something that I encourage everyone that sees this. If you can donate to this cause. It's a great cause, and it's going to help a lot of people. If you can't do that, you can pray. Yeah. You can pray for this cause. Yeah. You can pray fervently for this cause. So I encourage everyone that sees this message, that sees this video that we're doing, to pray for this pregnancy center, all the people involved in it, and all the people that come there seeking help.
For sure, brother.
Amen. All right. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in with us here. Myself and Charlie, we've enjoyed visiting with you and telling you a little bit about what he does, and the needs of their organization. And we hope that this helps you in some way to better understand that there are causes out there that are worth fighting for. And salvation, obviously, is one of the important things that we should always try to help share with folks that don't have it. But unborn children, they can't stand up for themselves. They can't fight for themselves. And as believers, I believe we're called by God to stand up for them and to fight for them and to do whatever we can to help promote His kingdom and to give those children a chance to come into this world and then live for Him. So thank you guys for joining us. I hope you are blessed by hearing what we've talked about, and we ask you guys to pray for this pregnancy center and all the people involved. You guys have a great day. We've enjoyed talking with you.